I'm Dr. Barry, licensed psychologist, and I wanted to give my reaction to this interview with Devon Franklin on The Breakfast Club. I will leave a link to the full video down below. Let's hop right into this video.
That she said on there that she was dealing with somebody that was, having a tough time and was kind of depressed. How long do you allow your partner or somebody to be in that mode before you say, okay, there's nothing more that I can do?
Well, I think first and foremost, it's like if somebody is going through something, only they can get through what they're going through. And so I think sometimes if we take the role.
Even as a therapist. So I thought that was extremely important to say that when somebody's going through something, only they can get through it. But therapists, friends, family, we can support them through it, but they have to get through it.
The role of like, I've got to help my partner get through this, we may be putting ourselves in a position which we are not qualified to do. So versus like, hey, I'm going to be a support system. How can I support you through this? What is it that you need from me in order to navigate this period of depression or this anxiety or whatever it may be, and have enough grace and space for that person and what they're going through to allow them to go through it? Because what I've experienced is that when you try to heal somebody or you try to do their work for them, you put yourself in an impossible situation, because at the end of the day, that's their journey. That's what they have to experience in life for their own growth and their development. And sometimes as a partner, we unnecessarily make it feel like, well, if that's what they're going through, I got to go through it too. No, that's what they're going through, and I can be there to help them. But they need to set the terms by which what that helps looks like.
That's good. We're going to get to Flame Hot, but I need to stay on that for a second because there's so many people dealing with grief.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that we all think we can do when, something happens like death is we have to come to the person's rescue and help the person.
Right.
There's nothing you can do. So I think enough people don't know how to show up.
Right.
And just be support system. So how do they show up and just be support system?
In my experience, it's about grace and space. And so if I give my own self grace and space to feel, to experience, to live, and not judge myself for how I'm feeling in any moment, then I can give that to others. I think so often we're trying to be something to somebody because we don't know what we are to ourselves. So when you talk about that grief process, it's like, okay, we all go through things and navigate loss. And that's just part of life. And the best friendships, the best familyships, the best relationships don't require the person to arbitrarily have a timeline by which they pass through whatever they're going through. I mean, with these traumas that we've experienced in life are difficult. And for some of us, they take years to heal. So to me, the best way to do that is to first give yourself space and grace for your journey on life. And the second thing is to give that to whomever you're dealing with. Don't, push them or pressure them to have to move through something. If they need to cry, be there. Hey, I'm here. If they need to yell, hey, yell as loud as you want to yell. I'm with you. That to me is how you do it.
That's great advice, because if you don't have the right tools and
I wanted to pause it there because my mom and I just did a podcast recording talking about grief and how really when somebody is grieving, and there are all different types of grief, you can grieve losing a job, you can grieve losing a relationship, you can grieve losing an individual. Like there are so many things. You can grieve being estranged from family or relationships changing or not being able to see friends as much as you wanted to, or like there are so many different ways that grief can come up, and making it so that we don't have this toxic positivity. And I really appreciated somebody, so he talks a lot about his faith, somebody that is saying this that also talks about their faith walk as well. Because sometimes there can be this toxic positivity where it's like, oh, good vibes only, or I only, I don't know, like thinking that other people are bringing you down, or it can be really toxic to just only have to be positive around a person. Now, there are other situations where if there aren't good boundaries, so if I have a lot going on in my life, I might need to check in with my friend to say, hey, do you have space for this? Hey, trigger warning, like, are you okay with this? And then if they give me permission to support, then I'm going to go on ahead and do that. And what I mean by that is, let's say I have a major thing come up in my life, kind of warning that friend that like, hey, this isn't just a random, let's meet up text. Like I'm reaching out because I really need your support, letting them say, okay, let me finish up work and I'll be able to call you later. And as a friend, I would understand that. I think it's unrealistic to think that everyone is going to be there for you all the time, and that we can have boundaries around our time, our money, and all of those other things.
just constantly trying to like help someone heal or be there for them, and they're not really ready to receive that.
Yeah.
You start feeling rejected and then resentful. You know what I mean? Like, I'm over here trying to help you out, and you pushing me away, and I'm punishing me for being there for you.
But then that's where the ego comes in.
Yes.
The ego wants to be the savior,
That's right.
right? And then if this person is not receiving the way that I'm trying to bring them salvation from their situation, then I get offended. But then
This is why, as a therapist, I'm very careful to have clients own their process, that they own their healing. They are the ones that do the work. I'm the one that's the expert in the psychology stuff, but they do their work because I can be the best therapist in the world if somebody continues to do the same things, and if nothing changes, then either we need to refer, maybe there's a different style that would be better for them, but I can't do it for them. They have to do their work.
but then who are we to impose our way on their process versus saying, hey, I'm here. They didn't want to talk to me today. It's not because of me. It's because of what they're going through. And I'm going to be a good support system for them and give them the space that they need versus allowing my ego to then say, well, if they don't want my help, then I'm not going to help them. Well, maybe your help is your silence.
It's really
Maybe
good.
that's your way you help, you know?
Right.
So it's like taking the ego out and really trying to be present with the person in that moment.
Do you
So-
feel okay?
And then he also goes into anger. So I want to hop forward to that part where he talks about anger.
So, okay, whatever is causing me anger, before I act, let me pause and say, well, what in me is getting angry here? And I think that's the thing. A lot of times, anger, we don't realize is a secondary emotion, right? So I'm going to feel angry because I feel hurt, because I feel disregarded, I feel unseen. So if we just react on the anger, we may never get to the root of where the anger came from. So this has just come from me and my process of just wanting to learn and to heal and to go through all that I've been through and come through it in a way that, one, I can heal. That's the number one goal, right? Anything I'm sharing is because I go through this healing process. And the second thing is, in this area of relationships and dating and love and marriage, it's so difficult. It's so hard, right? Like, let's just be honest. So as much as I can share about any tips or tools that someone may find helpful, I'm going to do that.
Have you?
So I want to share this image, the anger iceberg, that with anger, there's this part of it that we see. We see the person's yelling, screaming. We see the attitude. This works really well with children and teens too. But under that anger, there's more. And if I just get rid of the anger, but I don't address whatever's under it, and so that is true, anger is a secondary emotion. There's always a primary emotion that's really starting out. And let me look up core emotions too. In my office, I have a feelings wheel that looks similar to this. It actually has a lot more emotions. It's on a pillow. So there are these pillows I found on Amazon, and on the front and back, they have different emotions. And that those core emotions are fear, anger, surprise, happiness, disgust, and sadness. And then outside of that, there are these other emotions. And if you ever look up whether anger is a primary or secondary emotion, it technically comes up under primary, but we do view it as there's always something else under it. Like normally we can get to a deeper root issue when we look at anger.
All right.
Are you going to write about everything that you've been through, your divorce and everything else? Like, or is that a story you're still processing?
You know, I would say I'm still processing it. You know, I don't know that I would ever do a book on divorce. You know, the next book I'm working on is called One of One, which is the truth about being single. And the idea, you know, behind that book is that we're all single. Some may be in a couple, some may not be. But so often, if I don't know how to, a couple is made up of two good singles, and the couple is only as strong as the singles that make it up. And if I don't know how to be one with myself, how can I learn to be one with another?
Damn.
And so, so the book is about, you know, there's nothing wrong with being single. You got to get rid of the stigma, because even when you're with someone, you're still single and you're still an individual.
Oh, you seem like such a good human. I have so much work to do in myself when I leave here. Like,
Why
I
don't
have
say
to get out
that?
and get my
I definitely want to share that part, the fact that you don't lose singleness or individuality within marriage. That because especially within like religion, sometimes we talk about the two becoming one, and there's this like giving up or this we consume each. I don't know. Like there's some odd thing that happens that's not particularly healthy. And I do think within healthy relationships, we still both have our own wants and desires. and we find healthy ways, but I don't expect that person to meet every want, desire, need that I have. That there are things that I do, there are other outlets that are within the context of that marriage. So now, because we did the other episode on, reviewing another relationship where there was infidelity. And so like that, if that's not outside of the boundaries of the couple. So within my marriage, I don't look to my husband to do everything and be everything. And no, like it's not his job to make me happy. That really within a marriage, within singleness, because some people get married so that they don't have to be single anymore and that they hate singleness. And really, I think valuing that I'm an individual, this is who I am, and that now we work together, but that I still am responsible for making me happy, that I'm not looking to the other person. Everything you do has to make me happy. As soon as you come home from work, it's your job to make me happy. No, no, no. And that if you're not okay, then I'm not okay. So that's where that enmeshment, where that's not particularly healthy, and we're not having good emotional boundaries, I think all of those things can come into place. And if y'all want me to talk more about any of those things, please let me know. But I thought overall he talked about his movie Flaming Hot that's coming out, talking about flaming hot Cheetos, blah blah blah. That was kind of in the middle, but I really appreciated those aspects and him talking about having a therapist, having a coach. And that was the other part I wanted to mention was the difference between a therapist and a coach. So therapists dive deep to work on psychological issues. So to work on anxiety, depression, that a therapist, we're going to work on past trauma, but a coach might help with some of the day to day. As a therapist, I do both. So I with a client I'm working with, if they're looking for a job, a part of our session might be pulling up potential jobs. Some therapists don't do that. I have because I did home-based services and intensive services, I know that that can be incredibly helpful. If somebody's depressed because they don't have a job, something that's going to help their depression is finding the right job. And so part of what we can do together is identify those barriers that are kind of getting in the way, and maybe we can use part of our session, not all of it. So I'm not going to use all of it to work on job search, but maybe 5-10 minutes, as we're talking, as we're kind of going through things. Oh, have you seen this? I'm going to send a few things your way that you might like. And so yeah, let's see if there's anything else.
Oh,
I
don't
have to
say
get out
that.
and get my
We
life
all got
together.
work.
No, what he said is we don't talk about that enough because
Yeah.
it's always this pressure. Be a union. Be a union. When you get married, you have to be one.
But here's the thing.
How?
If I have not been practicing being one with myself, if I have not been practicing being loving with myself,
Yes.
if I have not been practicing giving myself grace and space, it's very hard for me to be loving with another. It's very hard for me to give that person grace and space. It's very hard for me to let them be who they are if I don't give myself the freedom to be who I am.
Right.
So this idea of being one of one is to say, I am one of one. I am valued. I'm worthy. I need to get to know who I am and give the process of discovery the same process I would give in a relationship. Because in my experience, so often when people are traditionally single, they squander that period of time looking for somebody.
Yeah.
Right.
And they falsely believe if I'm in a relationship, my life will be better. If I'm in a relationship, I'll be happier. But if you are not happy without someone, I guarantee you, you won't be happy with someone.
Guaranteed.
Because the practice of happiness has to be self-created. People can enhance our happiness. They can make a contribution, but we have to be the creators of it. And I think so often in relationships, one of the reasons why they don't work is because we overburden the relationship. We want the relationship to do something it was never designed to do, which is to do something for us that we don't do for ourselves. And so whenever we're in a relationship, and let's say I'm not being loving, or let's just say my happiness is dependent on my partner, even though they consciously may not be aware of it, subconsciously they know it and they reject it. Like, no, I'm not your source. I can't be your source. God can only be your source. Because the day that I make you happy, the next day I'm going to make you mad.
I will.
So if I allow someone the power to control my happiness, not only will I be manipulated, but I actually will never be happy. So this book, One of One, is really about unpacking what does it mean to be happy? What does it mean to, understand your value? And then how can you apply that to love, relationships, career, so on and so forth? Because at the end of the day, we're all single, right? We come into this earth single, we're going to die single. If I want to be in a great couple, there's nothing wrong with it, but let me be a great single.
Claudia, you know, you keep talking about how calm he is. That's one of the reasons why. Because when you start going to therapy and you start doing the work on yourself,
Yes, sir.
you realize whatever anybody else got going on don't got nothing to do with you.
That's right.
That's just projection.
That's it.
You know what I mean?
It
That's
sounds
it.
like complete.
Absolutely.
So it sounds like complete yourself instead of looking for the relationship to complete your life.
Well, that's a
That was one of my least favorite. Jerry Maguire, You Complete Me. So I used to love romantic comedies until like romantic comedies are a lie. They're a lie. So there is no this like you complete me because the minute you allow somebody to complete you, they can break you. They have that power. And so that's where in individuals that have toxic traits, they will want to be the one that completes you so that they can then go and do mess or treat you any kind of way and you will never ever leave. And so let's keep going.
that's a myth, and that's what people are so depressed.
Mhm.
This idea of like, oh, you complete me. No.
That's a scary thing, actually.
It is. It's like, no, I don't want to complete you
Mhm.
because I don't even know. I can't do that. I don't have the power to complete you. Only God and you can do that work.
Dang.
And so the idea is that if you have two people that know how to be one with each other and then they come together, the process of becoming one doesn't mean it won't be difficult, but it will be that much easier because they understand what that means. And so for me, I really want to empower more individuals, specifically those that identify as being traditionally single, to own this period of time. There's nothing wrong with you. Don't squander it looking for someone. Look for yourself. Find yourself. And if you never get into a relationship, that's not an indictment that something's wrong with you
Yes.
at all. A relationship status has nothing to do with whether you're, lovable or not. Love yourself and let that be enough. And so this book is about that. And if you are in a relationship, I think this book will enhance, being in a relationship because in a relationship, we try to rob somebody of their individuality at times.
Yeah.
And a great relationship will preserve individuality, not take it.
Is that what happened in your marriage?
No, I wouldn't say that.
Okay.
I wouldn't say that.
Did you learn this after the fact?
I would say that everything that I write about is a culmination of what I've learned in life, not specific to one experience.
I didn't mention this yet. So he was married to Megan Good, and that's why I think they were asking this. I do think sometimes shows like this, they're trying to get to some type of drama. He did not take any bait for any drama to say anything negative. They asked about him, how he felt about her new relationship, and he said he was happy for her. And so there wasn't any negative or drama that came up during this.
But all the experiences. And so for me, being able to talk about this book, and have this concept of the book, it was ironic. It was like becoming traditionally single again, then taught me what it means to be single.
Mhm.
And the importance of recognizing that we're single, even if we're in a relationship or we're married, means that I have to cultivate that individuality and then bring that individuality to whomever I'm with, whomever I partner with. And that's not something I learned exclusively from the marriage. That's just something I've learned from life experience.
Would you get married again?
Absolutely.
So me and my mom, we are definitely, I really like the concept of creating your own happiness and how can you truly be single, even as an individual in a marriage, as an individual that is single and attached, as someone who's single and dating, just whatever state you're in, how can you create that happiness and really own that so that you're not looking for somebody else to do that. I'm not looking to my kid to do that. I'm not looking to my family. I'm not looking to anyone else, that I find ways to kind of create that within myself. And so I think that's going to be July's podcast recording. And I will have a link to the full video down in the description. If y'all have questions, comments, let me know. I hope y'all enjoy the rest of your day.